Hi everyone, good evening. Charlotte here from Enriching Environments and welcome to Top Tip Tuesday on Instagram Live. And we'll just wait a few moments until people start to come on, and then you can let me know what the sound is like, if you can hear me properly and you can see me properly, which I hope is going to be the case. This evening we are going to be talking about sibling dynamics, how we can nurture this lifelong bond that we of course want our children to have. This is a two-part series actually. So this week we're talking about the foundation of nurturing this precious bond between siblings, and then the second session, which is going to be in 2 weeks' time on the 22nd, that is going to be focused on more of the conflict resolution side, when things don't go as planned and there are inevitably conflicts. How do we work through them with our children in a way that is fair to both of them or all of them, however many children you have. So hello everyone coming on. I think the sound is good. No one told me that it isn't, so I hope that hi, thank you for joining. I hope that the sound is okay, and let's dive straight in. I've had so many questions recently from parents that I work with about sibling dynamics, and it's interesting because I've done this live before a couple of times, but it's something that comes up a lot, sort of circles back this topic, and I guess that's because it's work in progress, isn't it? It's always going to be work in progress, and depending on the age of our children, it looks different at different stages, nurturing this bond and what that means and how we can support our children. And there's so much to say on it. So what I thought I'd do is just break it down into three things for simplicity for this evening. And the three things that I'd love to talk about is it's actually, let's rewind a little bit. Let's backtrack a little bit. What we want to do. Hi there. Hi everyone who's joining. So what we want to do is to create this nurturing environment, as in everything that we do. It's creating a nurturing environment where the relationship develops itself without us having to manage it so much. That's really what the key is. Hi Siham. Salut. That's the key thing with sibling dynamics. We don't want to be in a situation where we are managing too much. It's more like everything, we prepare the environment for autonomy. We prepare the environment, the emotional environment, as it were, and the physical environment. Predominantly, this is the emotional environment that we're talking about this evening. We prepare the emotional environment so that what naturally follows is a harmonious sibling relationship. In the majority of the time, we're not talking about all the time, but for the most part, it's going to be a harmonious and peaceful relationship. But it's laying the groundwork for that initially. And what that really means is the same foundations as always, the foundation of trust, of connection, of respect of each member of the family as capable and contributing member, and a member of the family who all people are valued, whether they are 88 or they are 8 days old. All members of the family are equally valued, and when we can start from that foundation, we can build upon that framework and we can add these extra things in. So going to once we've got our foundation of nurturing, the three things I want to talk about this evening is things. Hi everyone who's joining. These are three basics. This isn't a finite list, as it were, but these, from the questions I've been having recently, these are the three things that we can look at. One is not making, hi Emma, is not making our children share, respecting their clothes or their toys or their drawings or their books, respecting them each as individuals. And in the same way that we do in all things Montessori, and I think all things peaceful and respectful and conscious parenting, is that we respect what the child is doing in that moment. So if our baby is exploring something and the toddler comes up and also wants to explore, then it's for us to not try and make anyone share with each other, and vice versa. It's going to be hard for a baby, of course, but if the toddler's playing with something and doesn't want little sister or brother to play with it as well, doesn't want them to be engaged, then we must respect that and support baby in not taking things from the toddler. So that's the first thing, is showing, and it doesn't matter what age, but not forcing them to share things that they're not yet ready to do. And this means that if on these small things we're not making them share things when they're not ready to or they don't want to, then it's going to mean that the bigger picture things are easier. The relationship in general is going to be of one where there's innate understanding that each person is respected individually. And this is quite intangible, you can't measure respect really, can we, particularly when it comes to young children. But when we honour each child individually, and we see that each of them, they feel that each of them is respected, it's something that really it just then pervades the whole home. It's not something that you can measure necessarily, but it's that each child knows that what they're working with, what they're playing with in that moment will be respected, and someone else is going to support them in that. And then when, of course, they've got the language to say, no, I'm working with it, or that's mine, or all of that, then they can start to use that. But until that stage, we must be there, and moving forward, we must be their cheerleaders, we must be their collaborator and their advocate, so that what they feel respected. And it works both ways, and it's very, very hard when you have, for example, and I remember this with Olivia and Harry. Olivia was 2 years and 3 months when Harry was born, so he was crawling at 6 months. So Olivia wasn't even 3 by the time Harry was crawling. And of course, once he was crawling, he was absolutely delighted that he would be able to go over and get Olivia and grab what she's working with and grab what she's playing with and grab her and jump on her and things, which he still does now. But that was a really gentle and oftentimes frustrating process of helping him, supporting him in that. And it's two ways. It was holding Harry and saying, Olivia's playing with this at the moment. She's not ready to share. She just wants to keep that for herself for the moment. And holding him if he needed it. And obviously that's very, very patient and painstaking work to do with a baby, because they don't understand that they can't have it. And then on the other side, it was speaking to Olivia, explaining, saying, Harry isn't able to control his impulses. He's a baby, so he will come over and grab things, and he will come over and snatch things. And I understand that that's really, really hard. And he's in this stage, and you did the same when you were a baby, and it's completely normal. And we're going to support him through that together. So working on each child, lots and lots of communication. So not making Olivia say she has to be a big girl, and not making, the older child, whether it's Olivia or Ines, not making the older child say they have to be a big girl, or they have to share, or they should behave in a certain way, but more explaining what is going on with the younger child, so that they can then, over time, develop a lens of empathy. And then for the baby, again, narrate what's going on. Olivia's playing with the wooden blocks at the moment, and she wants to do that on her own for the moment. And I know it's hard, so I'm going to hold you on my lap when we watch her. Let's watch what she's doing. Now she's moving the orange block. Now she's moving the blue block. Narrate what's happening. And the great thing is with the baby is that they have a very short attention span. So within 10 seconds of, restraining your baby, as it were, and then being frustrated, not being able to touch it, they'll move on to something else. You can redirect a baby really, really easily. Hi, Harry. You can redirect a baby really, really easily. So it's not, at that stage, it seems really difficult, because if you have two young children, they don't have the language skills and they don't have the conflict resolution skills at all. But actually, if we can just get that foundation of respect from an early age, and then with older children, it's great, you can talk things through. It's still going to be hard. I still have to sometimes hold one or both of my children if there's something that they can't work out for themselves. If it's getting physical and they're actually going to hurt each other, they're 7 and almost 5, and they can hurt each other if they want to. So sometimes it is more speaking than the other, sometimes there's holding, sometimes there's comforting, sometimes it's one of them will be screaming and having a meltdown because they really want to do what the other one's doing, and to keep that space of respect, then the other child needs to have a meltdown and me to support them and sit them through so that the other child can carry on with what they're doing. But it's work in progress, and it's all focused on respect of what the individual is doing. And what's really, really amazing in this is that the more we respect the individual's work, and we see this in a Montessori environment, a Montessori school, and which is why it's so easy to transfer into the home, because it works so beautifully in a Montessori school, is that the more that we respect the individual and their work and their activity or play, whatever it is, the greater their capacity to then share later when they're ready to do that developmentally, the greater their capacity to be generous and to give and to contribute. That's what's really, really amazing. It feels like that's counterintuitive. It feels like if we don't make them share or don't make them be kind to each other, then it's going to go the opposite way. But actually, what it is the more that we respect the individual, the not the faster, that's not the right word, the easier it is for them to understand others, because they feel seen and they feel understood and they feel respected. So that was a very long way of saying my first point, which is we've spoken about sharing, haven't we? I think in recent weeks actually, and not forcing our children to do things they're not yet ready to do. But start with that basis of showing each child respect wherever they are, whether they're a newborn baby or they're a 12-year-old. Respect where they are in that moment, what they're capable of in that moment, and honour if they're not ready to share, if they don't want to that day. Because the day that we honour it, when they don't want to share, almost guaranteed the following day they're going to want to. Once they feel seen and heard and respected and honoured, then they naturally want to contribute, want to care for others. And that's something that once we see that, once we have a glimpse into that, it kind of opens our world into what possibilities, and then it opens our eyes actually to how topsy-turvy, how upside down we in Western society have been taught that the child is capable of, and have been taught about the child's innate goodness. Remember, and this is the golden thread all through all of my podcasts, through all of my work, we must trust in our child's innate goodness. We know that they are coming from a place of wholeness and goodness by nature. Hi, everyone who's joining. And when we can trust in that, then we can move forward to other things. But know that the innate goodness is there, and it's our job to guide them, to guide that energy. But they're not coming from a place of maliciousness. I had a conversation with a parent today actually about this, saying that this is a digression, sorry, in the toddler stage there is a lot of physical behaviour, there's aggression, there's biting, there's pushing, but it's not coming from a place of malice. It's not coming from a place of intentionally wanting to hurt somebody else. And it's like that with the sibling dynamic. Deep down there is that bond, and there is that natural respect and honouring. We can cultivate that. There isn't a deliberate maliciousness going on here. They have moments of anger and moments of frustration, as we all do, but we must see them through that lens of innate goodness to start with, because when we're in that right frame of mind, then we're going to be able to reflect that and project that onto our child. That's that state of innate goodness and trust in them. So that was number one. Number two for of these three basic points that I want to cover is again, it's quite a simple one, but it's non-competition. We don't compare our children to each other. Oh, I wish you'd sit still in the car like your brother does, or he's always quiet at supper and you're not. Why can't you be quiet like he is? Or why can't you eat all your supper? All of that type of competition, there's so much of it in the mainstream system. We don't want any more coming into it. And actually, the competitive stage where they work out the hierarchy, start to understand and try and work out hierarchy, is in the elementary stage from the age of 6 to 12. So that's something that comes in naturally. Again, we don't want to be doing things like trying to make people win races. Encouraging competition is something which, inevitably there's a winner and a loser, isn't there, in any competition? And that's something that we don't want to cultivate. We don't want to encourage that. The world is full of so much of that. And there's a great quote by, it's just come to me in this moment, a reminder. There's a quote by a Montessorian who is in the Montessori school of Bogota in Colombia, I believe, and the quote is really, I'll put it on my stories afterwards. It's something beautiful, like everyone talks about peace, but no one educates for peace. Original was in Spanish. The original quote was in Spanish. Everyone talks about peace, but no one educates for peace. They educate for competition, and competition is the beginning of any war. And that's such a powerful quote for me. And I'll post the original in Spanish and the translation on my stories this evening. And the name of the, he's an Argentine Montessori educator, but in Bogota in Colombia. But I'll reference him. I'll quote him in the story. But that's the thing. It's competition from a very young age just increases competition as they get older. And so if we want to have no comparison is needed, with our children of who was potty trained first, or who ate more first, or who puts their seatbelt on first, or any of those things. It's not helpful, because even though the winner might feel great, the loser feels rubbish, always. And then there's always shame associated with that. And then shame brings up anger, and then feelings of anger are suppressed. And there's all these things that are just bubbling under the surface. We don't need to compare our children to try and make them do anything better or different. We can just accept each one where they are. So non-competition is a really strong foundation of respect that we can lay in from the earliest years, years. And then the third thing I want to talk about, is, and this is a question I had earlier on in the week about new babies. So new baby, and then you have an older sibling, and whether that older sibling is, 18 months older or is a 12-year-old older, what we can do is draw the older child's attention to how much the new baby gazes at their little brother or sister. And obviously when mum is pregnant, talk about the things that they can do together. Talk about how from 6 months old, because the hearing, the hearing structure, the structure of the ear is complete by 5 to 6 months. And so baby in utero can hear everything around them. And so that means that you can tell big brother or sister, baby can hear you. When baby first meets you for the first time, they would have heard your voice for all of these months. And that's going to be such a beautiful blessing that they can meet you. They'll recognize you for the first time from your voice. Talk about things like that. How new baby's going to feel when they see their brother or sister. And one of my favorite things with Olivia and Harry, my favorite memories from when Harry was a baby, is that because we had the floor mirrors at Harry's height, so he had freedom movement, he had a mattress on the floor and a sheepskin, he would move around. One of the things he would do is that because there was a floor mirror, he would be looking in the mirror and he would see in the reflection behind him Olivia running into the room. And as she ran into the room, his whole body would quiver with excitement. He would start and he was on his tummy facing the mirror. His whole body would quiver and he would kick his arms and legs in excitement because he saw, hi everyone joining. I'm not keeping up, sorry, with all the joiners. He would kick his arms and legs in excitement and squeal in delight and really quiver with excitement as he saw Olivia approaching in the mirror. And so things like that you'll notice. You can say to the older sibling, do you notice how he looks at you when you speak? Do you notice how he looks at you when he comes in the room? We don't need to emphasize that. I know that there's a school of thought where, the baby should buy the big brother or sister a gift, and then big brother or sister could buy the baby a gift and all those things before the baby's born. But I don't think that's actually necessary. I think that can be a bit disingenuous, and it doesn't feel very authentic, because it feels like the baby or big sister or brother is being bought in that scenario. What we can do more is, again, explain what's going on, explain what the new baby will be feeling and seeing and hearing in utero. So there's already that connection. And then when baby's born, you can narrate to the big brother and narrate to the baby everything that's going on, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. And what's also a really lovely thing to do is when you're changing baby, or you're one-on-one with baby, and then big sister or brother is around, you can talk to baby about big sister. And when, you're feeding baby, you can talk about big brother or sister, all of those moments. So there's this always this, again, this air of respect about both siblings, and not trying to make either sibling do something that they're not capable of, more just this foundation of respect that they get from being around each other, and learning to appreciate everyone, as I said at the beginning, as an equally valuable member of the community, without forcing them into a role that they're not yet ready for. What else would I like to say before? I can't. It's funny. I'm reading my bullet points. I can't actually read what I've said. Oh yes, I know what I've said. So I'll come to my summary in a moment. Before we do anything else, I just want to give you a book recommendation. Siblings Without Rivalry is by Adele Faber and Elaine Maslish, and they have written this fantastic book about how to manage the sibling relationship, how to manage the sibling dynamic. As you said before, the siblings, our children, are going to be around a lot longer than we are. So we really want to foster this nurturing, foster and nurture this lifelong bond between them. So yeah, I'd really recommend that. Siblings Without Rivalry is the name of the book, by Adele Faber and Neda and Elaine Maslish. They also wrote a fab book called How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, How to Listen So Kids Will Talk. That is a great book, again, for role play and saying different things to children, expressing things in different ways. But the Siblings Without Rivalry is a great book, highly, highly recommended. Shall we just circle back and just reaffirm what we've covered? Mainly, the main thing I want to focus on is that it's our environment of love and respect to all members of our community, which creates this nurturing environment and this sense of community and sense of respect between our children. So that's our foundation. And then anything that we add, the elements that we can add are as follows. 1, not making them share. 2, no competition, so no comparison, no competition. Who's the winner? Who's the loser? Who's faster getting dressed? Who's all of those things. We don't want to get into that that competitive element. And the third thing is draw each sibling's attention to how the other sibling notices them. Whether, when that's a new baby, you can draw the attention to the older sibling that, baby's watching you, baby loves watching you, and baby's listening to your voice and noticing when you gets excited when you come in the room and really wants to be cuddled by you. And you do that as they're older as well. With my children, I will point out to them discreetly when the other sibling is doing something to copy them, or something which is meaningful to one sibling that the other sibling is doing for them or doing as a result of them. Things like that really let a child know that they are valued, that they are of intrinsic value as they are. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to touch upon is, this is more sort of like a hands-off approach. We prepare the environment, and we do as little as possible. We do as little directing as possible. Everything that goes on are these beautiful natural conversations as you go along, rather than direct teaching, if you know what I mean. Children learn very little, if anything, through direct teaching. They learn from our energy of how we do things. They learn from our responses. They learn from observing us. So it's really not so much on what we say and how we teach things. It's the way that we are, the respect that we show each person in the environment, the respect that we show the environment, the respect that we show our child and the other children, other adults in the environment. That's much more powerful than any technique we could use. So, thank you so much for joining me. We've had loads of people come in. Hi, Shiham. Lovely to see you. Have your babies arrived yet? I know it'll take a bit of a few moments to catch up on the delay, but Shiham will tell us if her babies have arrived yet. And I think that's everything. So the book I recommended, Siblings Without Rivalry by Adele Faber and Elaine Maslish, those two authors actually, lots of the techniques they use, we use in the Montessori classroom because it's all about respectful communication and honouring each person as an individual. So those, anything by those two authors is really, really well worth the read. Hi, Shiham. Shiham is expecting twins, and she's saying she is also a Montessori guide. She's a toddler guide and a CASA 3 to 6 guide. And she was my daughter Olivia's first ever educator when Olivia first went to Monaco here in Dubai when she was 5. Shiham was her first educator. We can't wait to meet your babies, Shiham. So that's the book recommendation, Siblings Without Rivalry. Hands off as much as possible, and just prepare the environment of respect. That's what we come back to every time with Montessori, whether it's preparing an environment for autonomy, whether it's preparing an environment for a peaceful and harmonious classroom or peaceful and harmonious home life. It's always to start with preparing the environment, and then we connect the child with the environment, or in the classroom it's we connect the child with the materials as well. So our role as the adult is to be as hands-off as possible in the moment, and it's more what we say, it's how we move, it's our energy, it's how the energy moves is more important than what we're directly teaching. What else do I have to tell you? Our next session on sibling dynamics will be the week after next. So that's in 2 weeks' time. And that we're going to talk about specific conflict resolution. So what to say when our child says, I don't want a baby sister. I hate having a baby sister. Things like that we're like straight away completely on edge. Or I don't like my baby brother. I want him to go away again. I wish he wasn't born. All of those things. Or, I'm not going to sleep in the same bedroom as my sister anymore. I hate her. All of those things that are really tricky for us to deal with, And we'll talk also about role play and the bizarre role play that sometimes siblings do, which seem to be sort of like, one is submissive and one is always the leader, one is always the perpetrator, one is the victim. That type of dynamic in role play is very, very interesting. And conflict resolution when they want to work with the same thing or they want to play with the same thing, or those days when everything falls apart. We're going to be talking about that in 2 weeks' time. We are not going to have a Top Tip Tuesday next Tuesday because I am going to see Coldplay at Expo, which I am so, so excited about. So next Tuesday, I will be at Coldplay during Top Tip Tuesday. So please excuse me for being absent next week. But the week after, the 22nd of February, we'll be here talking about conflict resolution in sibling dynamics. Oops, I just got caught. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. As ever, send me a DM if you'd like any topics. You can send me an email as well. Say hello at enrichingenvironments.com. And my website is enrichingenvironments.com. I have on there my online course. What do I have coming up? I have my conscious parenting program starting this coming Sunday morning. It's a 2-session program. And then my nanny parenting program, my nanny enrichment program. If you have a nanny or you know someone who has a nanny who And these nannies are just so amazing. They're so hardworking, and they bring so much into the lives of many, many families in Dubai, and I know many other places around the world as well. If you have a nanny who you want to come into alignment with the Montessori principles you're practicing at home, then this nanny program is unmissable. It's 2 sessions with me, with the nannies, one-on-one, either live or online, and it's a session with the parents as well, so we can check progress and see what areas to work on. That starts on Saturday, the 20th of February, and then the second session is on the 20th of March. Those are both on Sunday afternoons. But if you want to know more details about the nanny program, you can send me a DM, or it's on my feed. Conscious Parenting and the nanny program are on my feed. My nanny program is my most popular program. I think that says a lot about the work that we have here in Dubai, and how many families have this beautiful gift of having often another culture in their home, which adds a different dimension, having other languages in the home. So it's really, really can be such an enriching experience to have a nanny in the home, and then to bring the gifts from their own culture, and then to follow this Montessori path is a really, really beautiful way that we can support children and actually all members of the family. So if you're interested in either of those programs, send me a DM or an email. Link in bio to all of my stuff. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Thank you, Nada. Thank you, Emma, for joining, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.